Hi guys, so sciatica, and specifically discogenic sciatica. So what we mean by discogenic sciatica, we mean that the irritation to your sciatic nerve and your sciatic symptoms comes from pressure from a disc bulge or a herniation, basically damage to a disc. But it's not the only type of sciatica or sciatic irritation that we can have. So we'll look at a bit of an example and then look at a potential way to help solve that problem, but then also understand why for some people that one solution might make things worse depending on what's going on. So when we talk about disc bulges and herniations, so a real easy way to think about it, it's a very simplified way to think about it. Imagine your disc is like this balloon, and if I have too much flexion or too many flexion cycles, so as I flex and I compress the front of this balloon this side, you can see I'm forcing the contents of the balloon out towards the back, so it's creating a bulge out this way. That happens enough over hundreds of cycles. We delaminate the collagen in the disc, and the nucleus, the fluid inside the disc, makes its way out, and that's where it creates a bulge, and if left unchecked, eventually becomes the herniation. So how can we check for that first of all? So to check for flexion tolerance, if we suspect that's going on, just need to sit on a firm chair or bench like I am here. And what we would do is bring our legs together, slip into a flexed position. So I'm letting that lower back round as much as I can to see if that brings about the symptoms of sciatica or pain. If it's not too bad, you're not sure, we can then add a bit of compression by pulling into that bench or chair. So if you have got discogenic sciatica, either just that flex position or that flex position with a bit of compression will sensitize that pain. You'll feel it come on. It will feel worse in that position. So that's an indicator that we've got a disc bulge or herniation that's pressing on that sciatic nerve, and it's causing that pain to travel down, down your leg. So again, we're in flex position, add compression. If you get a positive result, then we know at the very least you're flexion tolerant, but also know that if that makes your sciatica worse, then we have a discogenic aspect to your sciatica. So next what we'll look at is we'll look at a position that will help alleviate that, but for some people it can make it worse, and I'll explain why it makes it worse. Okay, so if we have got a positive result with the flexion and compressed flexion test that irritates that sciatica and makes it noticeably worse, one thing we can try is a disc recovery position. Now what this is designed to do is to put us into a gentle, an operative word being gentle, amount of back extension, which will kind of correct that pressure on the disc. So rather than putting pressure on the front of the disc, force the nucleus at the back, making the bulge or the herniation worse, we put pressure as you go into extension, more pressure goes onto the rear of the disc, which in some cases can actually pull your bulge back in a little bit and take some of that pressure off the sciatic nerve. So what's a quick and easy way we can test to see if that's possible for you? Just what we call disc recovery position. So I'm just going to lie on the floor. The first level is basically just lying with two hands underneath your forehead like this. And this just gives us a nice gentle bit of extension in the lumbar spine here. Just takes that pressure off the discs and lets them correct a little bit and readjust back to their original shape. So for some people, just being in this position is enough. They'll start to get a little bit of relief, and it will start to kind of ease off that sciatic pressure. So, but also for some people, being in this position initially because your muscles are so tight might feel a little bit awkward. So you might want to try it for a couple of minutes if it does feel tight, because it might take a minute or so for those tight muscles to let go. Because what we want to do is let that spine relax to the floor and let things settle down a little bit. Now if that feels pretty good, we can then progress to one fist underneath the chin, two fists underneath the chin over time, and then maybe eventually might be able to come up all the way up into sort of full extension onto your forearms. Now there is a caveat with this, in that if we have either facet joint irritation, so your facet joints at the back of your vertebra, and they obviously close together as the more we go into extension. If we have like arthritis and inflammation in there, being in this extension or some level of this extension might be irritable for you or provoke as a pain trigger. So for some people, just being here, it might be their absolute limit, because if they go a bit higher, things start to get annoyed. So that's what I like people to do, is to find their limit for extension and not go beyond that, because obviously we don't want to create other problems by trying to fix one problem and create another problem. The other thing we might have is that some people, there'll be an element of not just discogenic sciatica, if the disc is pushing on, in front of the nerve one way, they might have got irritation either, again, in that facet joint, or a little bit what we call like stenosis, which is a narrowing of the nerve canal. The nerve sits. There's arthritis in the bone, it pinches on that nerve. And sometimes as you go into extension, you close up that gap even more, and being an extension could be an irritant for your sciatic nerve and your back pain as well. So this is what comes down to, we take any approach, any exercise, it has to be the right exercise for the right person at the right time. So for some people, they're going to find doing this disc recovery position a wonderful thing. It helps their back feel good, helps it feel refreshed, takes away that sciatic pain if they feel a bit compressed because they've been sat all day. For other people, it could be the worst thing in the world, because they've either got that facet joint irritation, or they've got that kind of stenosis going on. So being in extension actually makes them worse, not better. So giving them this isn't going to be a good thing to do. So that's why we need to, before we give any exercises, we always must make sure that we test thoroughly, understand the problem that's going on before we propose solutions. So again, for some people, if you've got sciatica and it tends to get worse when you sit down, for example, being a gentle bit of extension could help alleviate you, but if it doesn't, then that means there's also a stenosis or a facet joint issue going on as well. And again, this is going to make you feel worse, not better. So that's why we can't just shotgun, just do this one exercise for back pain at people, because there's a good chance you're going to make 2/3 of people actually worse and not better. So again, if you test positive for flexion, discogenic type sciatica, try this disc recovery position. Start with the 2 hands underneath your forehead first of all, see how you go. That feels pretty good. We can come up to 1 fist, 2 fist and progress. The whole idea is it should feel better, not worse. If it's feeling worse, there's other things going on which are telling us that your body does not like extension, so therefore we can't really use it as a tool for you.